Hi there, Cagdas. So it's nice to see that you have sent us your first set of essays. Let's take a look at what you wrote. It's about schools, whether they should be more entertaining or just educate. Here's what you said. In recent years, there has been a contentious debate about the opportunities schools provide. While some believe that the only goal of schools is education, in my opinion, they should also be considered as spots of leisure. Accordingly, in this essay, we'll discuss both sides by giving examples to demonstrate points and prove arguments. All right, so far so good. It's lovely, concise, it's organized correctly, so no problems at all, okay? All right, let's move on. Okay, to begin with, traditionally, schools are only considered to be education centers for adolescents. A reason for this, I don't know why you're referring to only to adolescents and not to children in general. When you talk about adolescents, it's like you're talking only about children who are maybe like 11 to like early teens, I guess. So I don't know why you've decided to limit this age group to that. You could have just said children in age, like school age children. So I'm a little confused by this, but in any case, let's move on. Why don't we do this for the time being? Why don't we just say children here instead? So trying it again. To begin with, traditionally schools have only been, starting in the past since you say traditionally here. So I'm going to try it one last time, hopefully. To begin with, traditionally, schools have only been considered to be education centers for children. A reason for this would be that it is required to discipline the youngsters so that they grasp the knowledge they ought to have, and it may be impossible for them to be educated properly without that authority. Okay, to give an example, a scientific research by Stanford University verifies that teenagers are easily distracted from their studies if their education and leisure activities are nearby. Therefore, some believe that the only given activity at school should be teaching. Okay, I saw from your email that you had sent us a previous set of essays that were longer. I would be interested to see what you wrote in that set. This was okay, although I'm trying to see if there's like a logical link between some of your ideas, so I want to look over that again. What did you tell us? That they're only education centers, and that's because students must be disciplined to get knowledge. And you can't educate them without that authority. And then children or teenagers get distracted if they have too many leisure activities. Therefore, it should only be teaching. All right, I guess it makes sense. But I guess what confused me is, excuse me, is your use of the word discipline. So when you talk about disciplining youngsters, what you're saying really is this idea of like scolding them, of punishing them, of, making very firm rules that are executed, okay? So, and that they're enforced. So, when you talk about discipline, that's what it means. And so I'm not really sure how appropriate that was, okay? To enter this whole thing about discipline here. Maybe you meant something different, or I'm not really sure. But in any case, let's move on. Nevertheless, I believe that schools should also pique the pupil's curiosity. Just one pupil only, no, not multiple pupils. I think you mean multiple pupils, so it should be S apostrophe. And to accomplish this, more amusement should be provided. Because the students are spending most of their valuable time in those institutions, and I think, okay, that's not a full sentence. Because first of all, we don't start sentences with the word because. You shouldn't start a sentence with because, and, or but. And then it's just a fragment. So really, this should have belonged to the previous sentence. Let's try it one more time as if it was just one sentence. Nevertheless, I believe schools should also pique the pupil's curiosity, and to accomplish this, more amusement should be provided. Because the students are spending most of their valuable time in those institutions, and I think that they should be well entertained and socialized. All right, now if you did it like that, it's very long. So alternatively, what you could have done is said, this is because. Now, if you do that, no problem whatsoever. All right, you have it two separate sentences. It makes sense, and you have a nice link there between the two sentences. All right. So we're here. For instance, a recent survey by the Ministry of Education has revealed that 70% of the students find the education system dull and tedious, And if given the chance, they would prefer studying at home. Consequently, more entertainment is inarguably required at schools to improve the interest of adolescents on education. Okay. Again, now I found myself interested in what you had written in the other longer essay. It is okay to write more than 270 words or so, as long as you're on topic and as long as you're developing the topic well. So if you're managing to do this in 40 minutes, then don't edit yourself. I mean, I'd like to see what you wrote. And the reason I say that is because what are we supposed to be talking about here? We're talking about schools being more entertaining, okay? So here you're simply saying that schools should provide entertainment, okay? And then you say, and they should be given entertainment because this is where they spend most of their waking hours. And then your example said that students find school as it is right now dull and tedious, and they would rather study at home, and therefore you assume that entertainment is required. I guess my problem with this paragraph is this example here, that the system is dull and tedious and that students would prefer to study at home. The reason why I say I have an issue with it is because it doesn't entirely logically link to the rest of the sentences, okay? You're assuming here that because they find education dull and tedious, well, they wouldn't find it dull and tedious if there was entertainment in school, but you don't really have that information. And so you're drawing a conclusion on something that really you're just hypothesizing. All right. You think that because these kids would rather study at home, well, hey, they would really change their tune if they were entertained in school. Okay. And you can't really assume that. So I think a better type of example is if you actually supported what it is you're supporting. So if you had said that a recent study found that school children were 20% or 30% less truant when entertaining activities were included in the school curriculum. Okay, now that actually supports what you're saying. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Make sure that the examples you give actually do support what it is you are trying to support. Moving on. To conclude, while regulations are inevitably needed to maintain discipline at schools, I still believe more leisure activities should be therewithal provided to enhance the attention and respect of the youth to the educational institutions. All right, that's okay. I don't understand really this idea of adding the respect here. I'm not really sure why you decided to choose that word. You could have just left that out. But it's fine. I mean, it's a nice job. You have some nice elements for sure. You've used the template well. You've got some nice vocabulary. You've got some nice grammar. There are some mistakes, obviously, but for your first set of essays, I think it's a good first essay. So with that, why don't we take a look at your second essay? All right, so now let's look at the second essay about doing the enjoyable activity. Here's what you wrote. Undoubtedly, it is the aim of most parents to not grow up, but to raise. You see, what happens is children grow up, but parents raise children. So that's the correct way of saying this. So undoubtedly, it is the aim of most parents to raise skillful and creative children. I firmly agree that adolescents can grasp these virtues more easily if their parents focus on more enjoyable activities rather than solely reading while spending their time with them. In this essay, I will discuss but I will discuss my opinion, use examples to demonstrate points to support my arguments. All right, it's fine. Again, I think you've misinterpreted the word adolescence. Adolescence is a very limited age group of children after they hit puberty. So this is not really the age group that we're thinking of here. Other than that, though, it's fine. I liked a lot of what you wrote, okay? So let's move on. Firstly, I believe that children should be oriented to more entertaining activities to take their attention so that they can prefer spending more time with those. All right, I don't understand that sentence. Let me read it one more time. Firstly, I believe that children should be oriented to more entertaining activities to take their attention so that they can prefer spending more time with those. All right, it's not really clear what that sentence means even after I read it a second time. I think the more pupils draw their attention on a particular pursuit, the faster their skills will intensify. For instance, a recent research by UNICEF revealed that if children are keen on doing any particular task, they spend more time on it, transferring it into a habit, and in the end, expertizing in it. Well, that's not really a word, is it? Becoming an expert in it. Therefore, for the children to become more skilled in any particular subject, I think families should concentrate on doing more interesting activities than reading. All right. I think that I think you kind of missed the point with this paragraph. You're supposed to be talking about the kinds of skills children can develop from other activities, enjoyable activities, okay, and how potentially those skills cannot be developed with reading. Or maybe they can be developed, the same skills can be developed, but they're developed in a more enjoyable way. So I think you kind of missed the point here. I was expecting to see something along the lines of the types of different skills, like maybe it's cognitive skills, maybe it's the hand-eye coordination, maybe language skills. Okay, there were a ton of different developmental skills you could have talked about here. So I kind of felt like this was off, not really I don't want to say off topic, but you were focusing for sure on not the right thing. All right, let's see. I reckon that reading alone does not improve creativity because one of the essential aspects of understanding is imagination. Activities such as playing 3D games encourages a child to imagine about the task, not to imagine about, but to imagine the task to accomplish it. Studies by universities prove that imagination and foreseeing something not priorly, is the key to creativity. Therefore, I think families should concentrate on playing imaginative, entertaining games with their children instead of reading. All right, now one thing you've done in both of these paragraphs is that you have provided a comparison between whatever you're talking about and reading, and that's good. I like that. That's something a lot of people miss out on and they skip it. You haven't, and so that's really good. But I don't really feel like you've really, how can I say this? You've really kind of hit the nail on the head with either one of these paragraphs. Here, definitely not. Here, a little more. Because I didn't understand this sentence. One of the essential aspects of understanding is imagination. I did not understand that. And then you start talking about 3D games allows a child to imagine the task to accomplish it. That wasn't really entirely clear. And then you said that imagination and foreseeing is a key to creativity. So I don't understand still how that is connected to the previous sentence. And then the last sentence was, more or less clear. So you're on the right track with all of this, but you really need to, how can I say this? Think maybe a little more linearly. So I want you to think of your ideas as a chain, and they have to go A, B, C, D, E. I kind of felt like some of this here was a little scattered. Like it didn't go A, B, C, D, E. It went like A, and then it went to D, and then it went to like Q, and then it went back to like R. So that was part of what I saw here. Like I said, think a little more linearly. Make sure that your ideas are better linked together and that they follow like a logical progression. So, to conclude, I strongly agree that children would become more skilled and creative if they do more interesting, enjoyable activities than reading, since these can boost their imagination and interest on the subjects which they should learn. All right, that was nice. You have some really good grammar in here. A couple of really advanced things. You got this if clause, and then you also had a relative clause. So, as far as sentences go, that was really rather complex. And you did it successfully, so congratulations with that. I mean, you've definitely got a lot of positive things in your favor, but I want us to work on some of this idea generation and making sure that the topic development is there, it's appropriate, and that it's progressing in a logical fashion. Okay, so now what I need you to do is correct these essays, return them to us corrected. Also, write an error correction list, mistakes on one side and the corrected version next to it, and then of course another set of essays. Okay, I'll be waiting for all of that in the next couple of days, so get it done and we'll meet back here with your next set of essays. Good luck.